There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Friday, June 12th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is down 1.42% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,419, a high of 9,554, and a low of 9,084. That's $1 for 10,617 Satoshis. Volume was very high for a weekday, with 11,921 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 83% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.73%. Pound that like button. I got a new Charles Bukowski book. It's called The Continual Condition, and you guessed it, it's more posthumous poems. That's right. That means they're all sad and not fun at all. So here we go. Random flip, brand new book. Never read before on the show. This is a big deal show history here. Oh my gosh. It's 2 pages. It's so dark, both visibly and physically. Here we go. Charles Bukowski. The Agnostic. I've come off a week of the flu, just in time to face the oncoming Christmas season. And do you realize the hopeless, crazy feeling this brings to agnostic? It's as if the whole world has gone sick on cue. People swarm everywhere, everywhere. Everything's cluttered, jammed, overloaded, jarring, inefficient, and stupid beyond belief. Almost everybody is overwhelmed. I myself have purchased a huge green dead tree, and there it sits in my front room. Any complaint I might make against Christmas is nullified by this very action. I am screwed. I have screwed myself again. I resent screwing myself. I resent not being strong enough to not screw myself. Last New Year's Eve it all rose to the surface and grabbed my mind, and I threw the tree to the floor, lights, decorations, and all. A foul business. The next day I felt obligated to clean things up myself and cut my fingers on shards of broken ornaments. God's punishment? Well, my wife and her mother enjoy Christmas, so I'll sacrifice my goddamn soul one more time. And then there's New Year's Eve. Happy New Year! Happy New Year to all of you. Isn't there anybody out there who feels like puking their guts over this whole matter? Or am I the only one alone feeling that the world is running over and through me? What a horrible thought. But it's possible. Let's see what else we've got here. Oh, this is poignant. This fits the times. Unemployed. Fight we would, and I'd tell her, we're out of drinks now. I'm broke. You've got your... I was going to try not to... Oh, well, you've got your C word. You can go out and hustle more drinks while I sit here looking at these goddamned walls. You mean there's no more to drink? No. But shit, you love me, remember? I hate you. She would leave. She would grab her purse and be gone. I'd go around sipping. I'd sip almost empty bottles and cans. I'd look under the bed and couch for more. At times like that, you get to know a hotel room well. You look at the Venetian blinds and the hot plate. You look at the newspaper on the rug. The page looks at you and reads the same way over and over. But when she comes back, it begins all over again. She asks, "Why are you so mean?" Dear reader, do you know something? Those who keep asking the same question don't really want to hear the answer. finally the one I've highlighted. Not sure we waited long enough, but oh well. We waited as long. Oh, 5 minutes are over. We can curse now. Says, my answer. Why does he have to use words like that in his writing? Words like what, mother? Well, like motherfucker. Some people talk like that, mother. People he knows? Yes. But why does he associate with people like that? Because, mother-in-law, if I only associated with people like you, there'd be nothing to write about that the motherfuckers would care to read. There'd be nothing to write about that the motherfuckers would care to read. Charles Bukowski, a brand new book to me, The Continual Tradition, more posthumous poems. On the back it says, quote by Leonard Cohen, a famous songwriter, singer. He says, he brought everybody down to earth, even the angels. High praise for Charles Bukowski. Anyway, we're moving on to our top stories today. Let's get it going. 3 crucial factors why Bitcoin price plunged from 10,160 to 9,000 in 28 hours. The price of Bitcoin plunged from 10,160 to 9,012 on BitMEX within less than 28 hours, dropping by 11.3%. It coincided with a staggering 5.6% drop of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Well, there it is. You have your answer right there. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, which I'm shocked to say is up today. Started out, the Dow was quite up, 25,900. Now we saw it hit a recent low of 25,200. Now it's back in the middle at 25,500. Currently up around 2% for the day. But I'd say that's a major factor why the Bitcoin price went down. Crazy times on the stock market. Let's see what else they say. Liquidation of $78 million worth of longs. That's a lot of longs. Correlation with the stock market since March 2020. Wow, since March. And the strength of the $10,500 multi-year resistance zone. Oh, the $10,500 multi-year resistance zone. That's a lot of strength. On March 13th, the price of Bitcoin plummeted to as low as $3,600 on BitMEX. The move liquidated over $1 billion in futures positions. The downtrend was so strong that Bitcoin technically could have hit zero. Ooh. After Bitcoin dropped below 4,000, it was huge today. There were endless liquidations, and the BitMEX order book was basically non-existent. It means Bitcoin might go to zero, but it didn't. All right, enough of that. Bitcoin realized cap hits $106 billion record as fear returns to the BTC index. Ooh, fear. Coinmetrics popular indicator continues its relentless uptrend despite bearish sentiment creeping into Bitcoin markets. There's a thing called the realized cap. It's not the same as the market cap, but it's actually the realized price. And Bitcoin broke $100 billion in the realized market cap in August 2019. That's great. But what we really want to know about is the Fear and Greed Index. Tell us about the fear and the greed. Fear and Greed Index drops by 14 points in a day. Realized cap provides a notable contrast to the overall market mood this week. On Thursday, bearish signs culminated in a wave of exchange selling pressure that took 8% off Bitcoin in hours. The move also took its toll on the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, a dedicated measurement of trader attitudes. Having lingered in neutral territory with a score of 53 out of 100, the index suddenly fell 15 points to 38 out of 100, marking a return to the fear zone. Dun dun dun! Earlier this year, we saw a record 7 consecutive weeks spent in the lowest extreme fear category. Bitcoin price to hit 12K or 8K next. Bitcoin traders discuss macro signs. And that's really the question, right? 12K or 8K? Are we going up or we're going down? I think it's best to say that we're going up and we're going down. According to Michael van Pape, a full-time Amsterdam Stock Exchange trader, the short term of Bitcoin is optimistic as long as the price remains above $9,100. Whoa, it didn't yesterday. Let's see what else we got. The Bitcoin price is likely to break out of a 2-year cycle within 7 days, if it does not see a sharp pullback during that period. I love it. They have both ways on everyone. Let's see who else we got. Data from Woobull, a market data platform operated by cryptocurrency investor Willy Woo, shows that investors are increasingly accumulating Bitcoin at current prices. More hodlers. Previous bull markets were kickstarted by a spike in hodl waves, which is typically a highly positive signal that investors are becoming more comfortable with both the short-term and medium-term trend of Bitcoin. The bearish scenario for Bitcoin in the short term. Oh, it's always good. If it's up in the long term, it has to be down in the short term. Spikes in the Bollinger Band width have followed the down-sloping orange trend line. Additionally, these spikes in the BBW have also perfectly aligned with peaks in price. Will it occur again? Dun dun dun. And right now, the price of Bitcoin is down 1.17% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,428, a high of 9,544, and a low of 9,084. That's $1 for 10,604 Satoshis. Volume was very high after yesterday's excitement, with 11,793 Bitcoins trading hands. Market continues to lean margin long, 83%, and Bitcoin dominance is at 65.69%. Check out the Trezors Don't Float t-shirt at the World Crypto Network store at worldcryptonetwork.store. There's a link in the description below. Tired of telling your friends what happened to your Bitcoin, how horrible the boating accident was, or did you just drop them over the side? You found out the hard way. Trezors don't float. Get the t-shirt at worldcryptonetwork.store. And now, the news. Bye Tucker. Tucker Carlson is having problems with his advertisers after he attacked Sesame Street's Elmo for explaining the anti-racism protest for kids. People are boycotting Tucker Carlson's advertisers. That's too bad. Trump authorizes sanctions targeting the International Criminal Court after the ICC approved investigations of alleged war crimes by U.S. service members and intelligence officers in Afghanistan. Seems like something a criminal would do. Sanction the court. Good idea. We've got more information from Craig Wright's docket. People are reading it in detail, bringing back the best parts. Let's see what's going on in Craig Wright's court case. On the other hand, the literally unsupported accusation made in the redacted footnote is scandalous, defamatory, and highly likely to harm Dr. Wright's reputation and his prospects at trial if made public. This case is followed extensively by the media and obsessively by a cult-like Bitcoin internet community that hawks the docket, reports every detail of the case. Example, the kind of pizza that Dr. Wright and counsel ordered at dinner during a meeting in Miami last year, and that has violated this court's restrictions on digital devices to live stream from a hearing before Judge Reinhardt. To allow plaintiffs to air a wild accusation like this would permit a baseless conspiracy theory to be repeated endlessly in the courts in the internet's echo chamber, harming Dr. Wright's reputation, likely reaching potential jurors whose opinions could be tainted at trial, and surely reaching the sort of unstable persons who might harass Dr. Wright or worse. The high likelihood of injury to Dr. Wright cannot be squared with a non-existent benefit of public access to a false statement. So Wright is looking to redact the docket after plaintiffs filed a sealed document with explicit through expense counsel. The improper public filing was caught quickly, so they filed a document publicly that wasn't supposed to be public, and it didn't go well. So funny things are still happening, and I love this cult-like Bitcoin internet community that hawks the docket, reports every detail of the case, including the kind of pizza that Dr. Wright had, and the repetition of Dr. Wright. We usually think of him as fake Satoshi, but great stuff there from Arthur Van Pelt. Thanks so much. People are boycotting Stamps.com because they sponsored Tucker Carlson. Maybe it's time for Stamps.com to change their mind and stop sponsoring Tucker. Bess Kalb writes this: I say this as a Jewish person who lost family in the camps. Trump holding a rally in Tulsa on Juneteenth is like holding a rally at the gates of Auschwitz on Holocaust Remembrance Day. We have breaking news from Public Citizen, one of the groups founded by Ralph Nader, a fantastic group giving public access to government information. Steve Mnuchin is now flat out refusing to disclose the businesses receiving $500 billion in bailout funds, claiming that the information is confidential. 4.5 million businesses received government funds, and there is zero transparency. This is unconscionable, jaw-dropping corruption. Unconscionable? I don't know. But it's awful, and it sucks, and it's normal. But we're getting used to it. But yes, they're not going to release the names of the businesses. So pretty amazing, pretty shocking. But what could shock you anymore? So me, I wish I could eat in a restaurant again. Restaurants, good news, we're opening. Come on in. Me, lol, fuck that. Yes, that's right. There's no demand for restaurants. There's no reason you'd want to sit somewhere else and risk your health having someone else prepare you food. It's much better just to learn how to cook and eat at home. Eat at home is the new restaurant. Major General retired Paul Eaton writes, I commanded Fort Benning, home of the infantry, one of the 10 Army installations named after Confederate generals. It's bad policy that such important Army posts be named after traitors. Time for change. I like the sound of Fort Omar Bradley, the soldiers' general, for the infantry center. That sounds great. Omar Bradley, an American general. Everyone involved with the planning on the attack on peaceful protesters outside the White House should be arrested. I think so, and we're getting there. They're denying who's done it now. More horrible footage. This is her cousin. Let's see, the cops. The cops literally broke his jaw and shoulder when all he did was call them because this white dude was trying to rob his liquor store. They let the robber walk right past and immediately attacked her cousin. We can see from body cam footage. Here's the owner. He says called to report a robbery, and the police attacked the store owner. Boom. Big swing. And there's 3 of them again. There's always 4 of them. It's always like a 4-on-1. There's no audio, it seems, or the audio's muted, but that's just as well. So there it is, security camera footage. It just keeps happening. And what would you think if you were trying to protect your business and you called the police and the police show up and they attack you instead of the robber? And they attack you with such force They break your jaw and shoulder. Richard Feynman writes, your degrees aren't as valuable as your skills. Alabama reported 849 new coronavirus cases today. This is the largest number of cases reported in one day since the state began tracking them. The state's total case count is over 22,000 with 750 deaths. Irony jumped the tracks, careened down the embankment, crashed through a circus, drove over a mink farm, and finally plowed through a protective wetland where it rolled over, leaking oil and exploded, raining down clown shrapnel and flaming weasels all over the countryside. As Donald Trump tweeted, "Those that deny their history are doomed to repeat it." More like, if Trump loses, Biden says the military will escort him out of the building if need be. It's scary that we're already talking about this and that it's a possibility, but it's definitely a possibility. Trump and Mnuchin refused to disclose the identities of corporations receiving $500 billion of taxpayer money. They also refused to extend unemployment benefits to people. It tells you something about their priorities. It really does, doesn't it? Let's see. Impacts of COVID-19 are to be horrible on Nevada and the tourist economy. As we all know, Nevada and Las Vegas entirely based on tourism, and this wiped everything out: hotels, gambling, shows, travel, tourism, everything. So very bad numbers. Hey, here it is, Las Vegas again, Nevada. CNN tracked several airplanes that flew over protests in Washington, Minneapolis, and Las Vegas. Government watchdogs fear the planes were used to track protesters and perhaps capture cell phone data. So we can see over major areas of protest, the government was flying airplanes. Very strange. Oh, this is interesting stuff. A warning is now included when you sign up for Trump rally tickets. By attending the rally, you and any guest voluntarily assume all risks related to exposure to COVID-19 and agree not to hold Donald Trump for president, Bach Center, ACM Global, or any affiliates responsible for any illness or injury. So that's pretty crazy. They're having them sign a waiver when they accept their tickets. So now you literally have a chance of dying if you go to a Trump rally, and they've already protected themselves. They've indemnified themselves. They're safe from legal punishment. We also had news yesterday that they're going to move the Trump, Trump Republican Convention is moving from North Carolina, who wouldn't allow them to have a full rally. They wanted there to be social distancing and other things, maybe even wearing masks. They're going to have it in Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida, 2020 Trump convention. You can sit shoulder to shoulder and get the virus. Just sign the waiver. Just sign the waiver first. They really care about you. They care about you signing the waiver. More than 1,250 former Justice Department workers call for the internal watchdog to probe Barr in his role in clearing demonstrators from Lafayette Square. Once again, this is why you don't do things like attack protesters with tear gas. There's always a record. We always find out who orders it. We already knew that it was Barr that ordered it. It was a plan originally by Trump, then supported by Jared and Ivanka and Hope Hicks. So if you want to know who tear gassed American citizens, who attacked them with clubs and pepper bullets and rubber bullets and all the bullets, it was them. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Miley discussed resigning over his role in Trump's church photo op, and he should. He should resign. Not only did he allow his troops to be used for it, he walked over there. He's a part of it. He should resign. He should be embarrassed. The entire army should be embarrassed. It's a bad scene. There it is again, Las Vegas. Good to see those airplanes keeping us safe from ourselves. A new powerful report concludes the wearing of face masks in public corresponds to the most effective means to prevent interhuman transmission. So there it is. Wear face masks in public, prevent the spread of the virus, kill the virus, not people. Team people, team humans, not team virus. Trump lied, 100,000 died. Stephen King working on some poetry there. Donald Trump is down by more than 8 points in polling averages. Coronavirus's resurgence. Expanded unemployment insurance is set to expire on July 31st. The nation has exploded in protests over police brutality. And he's doing nothing. He's doing nothing about any of it. He's just rage tweeting. And whether you like him or not, he is doing nothing. I was thinking about this the other day. How would I handle this situation if I was president, so on and so forth? And I think back to other presidents during my lifetime and what would Clinton have done, what would Barack Obama would have done. And you have a commission, right? You get people smarter than you, experts from schools and other places. You bring them in. You have meetings. You have different topics that you talk about. You say, hey, maybe this week we're going to talk about police brutality. Next week we're going to talk about police hiring practices. The other week we're going to talk about community policing. And you start having a conversation and a discussion with people about how we're going to solve this. And I don't know what the exact structural things are. I think, obviously defund the police, I think it's a pretty good slogan. It scares a lot of people. That's good in a slogan. And if they really did it, they took the money away and there'd be no police in the street and so on and so forth, everyone freaks out. So you obviously need a more complicated solution than that. But yes, that's what I do. Blue ribbon commissions, lots of meetings, lots of public speeches. The same way they did with the coronavirus, you could have daily press conferences or weekly ones at least, having people say what happened in the commissions, have local people come in and testify. You change the story. Every day I would make the story about the discussion that the president's having to solve this problem and that it's in progress. And instead, he's golfing in New Jersey. So you just have to look at priorities and solutions. I also think that solving this problem is a major key to being reelected, one would think. Not solving this problem, ignoring it, allowing it to continue, major bad key, major negative key. I don't know. I think you could do a lot more than nothing. I guess, what do you guys think in the chat? What should be done? Obviously, you could bring in more military. You could bring in more police. You could hurt more people. You could chase them out of the streets. They're going to come back stronger then. You could give more money to the police, which Trump has actually suggested. And that's usually what they do in the past, is they just give more money to the people brutalizing people. But I think it's going to take a big conversation to solve this. I think it's going to take a lot of different solutions at different levels and different places and funding and local and national. But we're not having that conversation. We're not doing anything at all. So, oh well. A spin-off show of Billions called Trillions. And it's just the cast staring in disgust at the global debt clock.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
I'd watch that. It's a good show idea there by Crypto Graffiti. Good stuff. General Chief of Staff says, I should not have been there. My presence in that moment and in that environment created a perception of the military involved in domestic politics. Well, and also you shouldn't have allowed the American people to be stomped in the street. You could have protected them. We found another hammock fan, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, author of The Black Swan, says in his sheet, this is true wealth. And we may as well go through this. I know you guys are interested in wealth. You're interested in money and wealth and coins and magic 8 balls and crystal balls and all that stuff. But let's see what real wealth is, according to Nassim Nicholas Taleb. True wealth: worryless sleeping, clear conscience, reciprocal gratitude, absence of envy, muscle strength, frequent laughs, no meals alone, no gym classes, good digestive functions, no meeting rooms, periodic surprises, foamy coffee, crusty bread, ability to nap, access to a hammock. Sounds pretty good. And here we have some footage from the Chaz, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle. You can see it says entering free Capitol Hill. They're working on, looks like another street painting of Black Lives Matter there on the ground. And let's see, we had a second tweet of this as well from Jack. Thanks to Jack Scott E on Twitter. There's a closer view of the Black Lives Matter mural being painted on the street. Interesting to see how quickly D.C. started a trend. First it was D.C., then Charlottesville, and now Charlotte, North Carolina, and now it's Seattle. So here's more graphics from the Chaz. I heard earlier today or last night the police did try to attack the autonomous zone and clear it out. This is going to be a continuing thorn in Trump's side. If we allow the people to exist without police, it's supposed to be chaotic, full of murder and rape and horrible things. If the people just kind of get together and hang out, it shows that maybe the people really aren't that violent and aren't looking to rob each other all the time over anything and everything. Maybe, just maybe. And there's a tent structure there. Looks like a lot of tent camping in Seattle, probably the homeless. Here's the precinct that's been boarded up in the Chaz. And here's some camping and gardening going on. More people hanging out in the street. So it looks pretty peaceful there in the Chaz. I'm sure you're going to hear otherwise soon, and they're going to have to clear it out violently in no time at all. In Nevada, Governor Sisolak plans to pardon low-level marijuana offenders. This is great news. Happy to hear this. I'm not sure why it's just low-level. Could be more as well. This has been slow coming, but needs to come, especially in states like Nevada, where marijuana is now recreationally legal. It makes no sense to have people in jail for selling something that's not only legal, but was declared essential during the COVID crisis. Liquor stores were closed. Dispensaries were open because they're medical. Speaking of medicine, James Hamblin writes that nationally, there's no second wave. There's one long wave of the coronavirus. We've been in a plateau of around 20,000 cases and 1,000 deaths a day, largely among minority and vulnerable populations. Reopening will cause spikes, but calling them a second wave denies the reality of what's going on. So we still have not stopped the coronavirus at all. Even the lockouts here don't show up nationally because we never really had a national lockdown. We never attempted that. You can see the virus continue to wave and spike, and even recently maybe even go higher with large spikes like this. And we've seen, again, it breaks out in local areas. A local area will get it, then another local area will get it, then another local area will get it. Unless you wear masks and stay home, then you could stop the virus. This is a neat idea. The conservatives have launched a movement to rename the Washington Monument to the Obelisk of Wokeness. This sounds great. I'm totally for this. Obelisk of Wokeness. That's awesome. This is the same senator who wanted to declare martial law and unleash the National Guard on the American people in the New York Times. He's classy. His name's Tom Cotton. Sounds like a plantation owner. Mr. Cotton, tear down that wall. A what wall? And now they've come for Fawlty Towers. Maybe the best episode of Fawlty Towers ever, The Germans, has been censored on UK TV. It's going to be censored on all the streaming services. It's rolling out to everywhere else. The episode's about an older German man who says inappropriate things. They then chastise him for saying inappropriate things and get mad at him and try to stop him. And that's what the episode's about. So the inappropriate things that the German man says are apparently so bad that they've removed this funny best episode ever of Fawlty Towers from streaming services. This is the one with the Germans where Basil Fawlty, as they say in the description, he loses it. And first of all, he's constantly saying, it's the Germans, don't mention the war. It's the Germans, don't mention the war. And it's so funny. And then eventually he can't stand it anymore and he has to mention the war. And he gets like a hairbrush and puts it up to his lips and starts goose stepping all around the room and doing his crazy Monty Python marching and walking. And it's just a fantastic Fawlty Towers episode. If you're into Monty Python and John Cleese and you haven't checked out Fawlty Towers, sounds like a weird thing, sounds like a building that's going to fall on you, but it's a great show about John Cleese running a hotel and being kind of out of control. It's a great follow-up when you're done watching Holy Grail or one of the other Python films. We are seeing the price of Bitcoin tick up a little bit as we do the show. It's now only down 0.22% for the day. That's around $20, with a last of 9,424. Check out the new info box down there in the corner. It's displaying the Bitcoinal screen on all the screens all the time, thanks to the power of Open Broadcaster. Very cool. And I made the percentages bigger today. Also, theoretically, I'm louder because I turned it up louder. So I can never tell. I look at these little numbers. It's in the green zone. I think that's good. It goes up to the yellow zone. I'm not so sure. And sometimes if you talk loud, it goes into the red zone. So I guess it works. Let's keep moving. Hey, nobody's wearing masks in Las Vegas. And they're shaming people who do wear masks and being critical of the staff who are only trying to protect them by not spreading the virus. If you want to be on Team Virus, come on down to the pool and spread the virus. Lost virus. It's a great way to vacation. And die. I went to Lost Virus, and now all my relatives are dead. I'm going to inherit so much money. I went to Lost Virus, and all I got was the inability to breathe properly for the rest of my life. And I lost my money. Oh, jokes. Jokes are good. Twitter deletes over 170,000 accounts, some of which tried to spin COVID-19 in China's favor. That's right, there's massive disinformation campaigns going on around you all the time, and you don't even notice. How massive? 170,000 accounts massive. Have you been talking to a bot lately? Or a paid contributor? Watch out. Trump is making remarks in Dallas about police and injustice. He's talking about a few bad apples. Classic. The White House has not answered our question about why the Dallas police chief, sheriff, or district attorney, all of who are African American, were not invited to the event. That does seem kind of odd. A woman who was arrested near a New Orleans protest is released after hundreds of protesters immediately surrounded the police car demanding for her to be released. Interesting. You mean police have to stop if hundreds of people tell them no? I'll have to think about that. Oh, that's great. That guy there had he has a mask on, and it's like a face mask, but it's a police face mask. Like it's got a badge on it. I don't know if you can see, but it's got a badge there. That's great. Oh, we've got some action in Lebanon. They're experiencing heavy inflation, and they have set fire to the central bank. There it is right there. Remember, I've shown you images of Wall Street burning at Burning Man, and you laughed, and you said, that can't happen just because it happened at your hippie drug festival in the desert with your rave music. Can't happen in the real world. Well, there it is right there in Lebanon. The central bank is burning. They must have printed too much money.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
That's like a lot of fuel, right? There's an infinite amount of tinder. The building could be set on fire an infinite amount of times. That's a lot. It's more than 10. Trump wants to have the courts repeal the Affordable Care Act and wants to limit Medicaid. So if you attend the rally and get sick, it really is on you. These are dangerous rallies. Oh, breaking news. ACLU victory. Tennessee refused to follow a court order requiring the state to send voters absentee ballots because of COVID-19. The ACLU took them to court, and the judge has ruled once again that Tennessee must let people vote by mail. We're going to see more of these battles as we get towards our contested election, which of course is not going to go well for the president. And then afterwards, we're going to see how it goes for the country. Twitter is disclosing new information about state-linked information operations. That's propaganda. To their public archive, the only one of its kind in the industry. Ooh, that means Facebook's cooperating. Originating from the People's Republic of China, Russia, and Turkey. All associated accounts and content have been removed. So now you're getting punished if you use disinformation networks on the American people. At the very least, Twitter is outing you. So Twitter will now out agents from the People's Republic of China, Russia, and Turkey, who have all been attempting to run disinformation campaigns using Twitter. How long before Facebook has to do the same? And, more importantly, stop taking their money? Jack says they're disclosing 32,242 accounts to their archive of state-linked information operations. Can we just call it propaganda? Can we save the time? Propaganda. Toronto is making face coverings mandatory on public transit and will hand out 1 million masks to riders. It's amazing to think back of the time when they were telling people not to wear face masks, I believe because they wanted to prevent a run on protective gear, and they were worried about their supply of protective gear, which is obviously a mistake, but the kind of acceptable, admissible mistake that one might make during administration, right? But they're not making that mistake in Canada, not anymore. 1 million masks given to riders, and they're going to wear them everywhere. I'll bet they're successful. I bet they stop the spread of coronavirus in Canada. It does us a hell of a lot of good. Meanwhile, in America, Harvard doctor warns coronavirus deaths could reach 200,000 by September as states uptick in cases. It's not over. It's not over by a long shot. Check out Jerry Cotton's coffee table from Quadriga QCX. I remember Quadriga CX, they were a Canadian Bitcoin exchange. At least that's what they told people they were. But really, it looks like somebody had a lot of their money right there on his table. This is the gentleman that went to India and allegedly died. He may have just disappeared. All of the money's gone. He talked about the need for cold storage and having multiple people control the cold storage. But when he died, it all disappeared. So right there, very interesting photograph showing piles of Canadian currency received from the ATN company. Dun, dun, dun. We talked about that. Zoom has just confirmed that the Chinese government asked it to close several meetings and accounts engaged in illegal activity. Zoom has now promised to develop the ability to block mainland users from certain meetings. 2 sets of values for one company. So this happened the other day. You saw we canceled our Zoom account right here on the air. Done. We're going to use Jitsi today for the Bitcoin group. I hope it works. We'll find out. But yeah, Zoom is taking action. At first, it was just negligence. They were badly built software. They were scaling amazingly, but they were not encrypted like they told people were. Then they started encrypting, but only for paid users, saying that they preferred to turn their free users over to law enforcement so they'd have a good relationship with law enforcement. And everyone said, what? You're going to turn your free users over to law enforcement? We have to pay you or you won't encrypt? This is not what encryption's for. This is not how it's supposed to be. And then they went even worse, banning and blocking an account for having a Tiananmen Square memorial online. Now, they had a memorial discussion of Tiananmen Square. You know, that's free speech. And apparently Zoom is owned or somehow in a relationship with the Chinese government. I assume it's consensual. Let's not be out of school here. And yeah, they closed it down, and now they're doubling down. They're saying they're going to block Chinese users from joining meetings. It's just, there goes the internet. So much for Zoom. Don't use Zoom. Boycott. Block them. Uninstall. I love this. It says, millennials call this assault. In the 70s, we called it a fielder's choice. And it's a baseball player, looks like might be Pete Rose or somebody. Somebody on a red team taking out the A's. Poor A guy is getting knocked out at second base. Just complete shoulder. He leads with the shoulder. He should really try to slide. Here we are in Seattle. The police are attempting to retake the East Precinct. The East Precinct is the police department that's boarded up at the edge of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. They're calling it Chaz. As soon as you give something a cool name like Chaz, it becomes instantly easier to fight for and defend. They did a great job naming that. Here it is again. Police just tried to enter Chaz. Oh, they're entering Chaz, not Chaz. At the 12th and Pike barricade. They maced a few of them. This person got hit, but not too bad. The crowd was able to hold the line, and the police backed off. Bike cops are circling the area, though. How ominous and forbidding to be circled by bike cops. Remember when bicycles were fun? We just rode and rode and rode. Oh, I love bicycles. Shout out to Louisville, Kentucky. They just made history. They passed Breanna's law banning no-knock warrants. Next, they're going federal. Thank you to everyone who worked on this. Great stuff. And remember, kids, states reopening doesn't mean it's safe out there. It just means the powers that be think there's enough ICU beds available for you. More trouble from China. China annexes 60 square kilometers of India in Ladakh as simmering tensions continue. China just continues to move forward. Looking at it in reverse, I'm sure these will all seem as a series of connected steps. China cracks down on Hong Kong. China builds military bases on small Pacific islands. China takes land from India. These might all seem blended together into one large historical move that looks so obvious from the other side. Biden almost said racist Fs at his press conference. That's true. Of course, poor Biden makes a it's a beautiful speech, but he has his damn mask on his ear. Somebody's got to tell him you just got to take the mask off or you got to leave it on, which is tough because you don't really want to take it off. Then it touches the table and it gets dirty and the other side could get dirty. I don't know. There's a lot of complications in this new mask-wearing society, but let's watch this short speech from Vice President Biden.
Beginning. From the moment he came down that escalator in his golden building, what did he start off saying? I'm going to see to it that we get rid of all those Mexican rapists. That was the first thing he talked about. Secondly, what did he do? He decided that he was going to pit us against one another based on race. When you saw those people in Charlottesville coming out of the fields carrying those torches, their veins, they're bulgy and screeching that anti-Semitic hate and bile, using the same phrases used in Germany in the early 30s in Nazi Germany, accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. The Grand Wizard said, this is why we elected him, okay, of the Ku Klux Klan. And then a young woman gets killed and he gets asked to comment on it. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president in the history of the United States of America has ever said anything remotely like that. And so what I learned coming out of the movement much, much earlier as a kid is you think you can defeat hate. You can only make it hide. And when you give it oxygen, when a president speaks, no matter how good or bad he is, people listen. And when he speaks and gives credibility to these racist, watch my language, folks out there. He breathes oxygen. They come out from under the rocks. And you're seeing it. You're seeing it all across the country.
Nice speech there by Joe Biden. Reminds me of another time. Reminds me of, what's that word? Decency. Ah, yes. Decency. And decorum. Decorum is also a nice word. I like decorum. As Homer Simpson said once, I just once like to be in a restaurant and not have them say, "Sir, you're causing a scene." Arizona has given up. This is pretty amazing. This is Arizona's top public health official. "We are not going to be able to stop the spread, but we can't stop living." It's like a Norm Macdonald joke. It's like, well, the coronavirus doesn't care. It's going to make you stop living. What are we doing here? So, yeah, they're not even going to try in Arizona. They're just completely giving up. It seems like maybe they've adopted a veterinarian to be their public health official, and she's going to give them herd immunity and just let 90% of the herd die off. We're going to have to take a loss this year. So, yeah, stunning news coming out of Arizona. I don't know what's going on there. As Matthew Iglesias writes, "Our leaders have just given up in a remarkable and depressing way." Yes, that sums it up nicely. The EU Parliament is planning to propose suing China in the United Nations highest court, the International Court of Justice, over its move to impose national security laws in Hong Kong, according to an internal draft report. So that'd be good. I like that. I mean, it's not going to stop them, obviously, but just as in the past, you have to put up flags, you have to warn people what's happening. Can't just let them have the Sudetenland. This is a great story from Jasmine Kaimig. She writes, "Not 5 days ago, I was leaning out this same window, terrified, watching tear gas and flashbangs being lobbed at the protesters. Now, people are painting a Black Lives Matter street mural, eating hot dogs, and discussing what a police-free future could look like." And it looks like she's got an apartment right in the middle of Chaz. This is the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle. You're going to hear lots of bad things about this soon. They're going to start a full-on information campaign. Propaganda, sorry. And all the new propaganda. These are the anarchists. These are the rebels. They have a hot dog stand. I'll bet they're selling the hot dogs. Bastards. So keep an eye on the Chaz in Seattle. I don't want to predict bad things for these people, but I don't think it's going to end well. I think we all know that. But see, Kurt Anderson says, "I don't know if the police should be required to have college degrees, but 70% of U.S. cops don't. In addition, 85% of cops are men and 77% are white. And Donald Trump's most devoted base are, of course, white men without college degrees." So that's very strange. I thought you had to have a college degree. It might be a California requirement. Maybe in other states you don't get paid as much, so you don't need to. But 70%. Somebody remind me not to remember this next time I see police officers, because that would be hugely inappropriate of me to, ask them, "What's your major? Officer, what's your major? Do you major in hitting people?" That's why I got to stay away from these protests. Dozens of Hong Kong students staged a protest outside of their school on Friday after a music teacher was apparently let go for letting them sing the protest anthem, "Glory to Hong Kong," at an exam. The police showed up to disperse the children. So in China, they fired a music teacher, maybe even disappeared. No, just let go for now. They say losing their music teacher was like losing a friend. And they stood up hand in hand, and it looks like they sang in protest, oppose unfair treatment. And they have regrets for singing the song because the teacher lost their job. So another sad story from Hong Kong, which is quickly becoming part of China. Hey, check out at KNOW Bitcoin, no Bitcoin. and my pal Micro at Logical Thinka. That's cute, Thinka. But yeah, he says, hey, do you have a update for the website? And what I like best about this is looking at his old Bitcoin hats. I thought I was the only one, but yes, my old Bitcoin hats pretty much look like these ones on the left. I actually had to retire them and thank them for their service, but I've got a new Bitcoin hat coming soon, so I'm going to be classy again, not like the old days. No doubt in response to Twitter taking note of China's information campaigns, China says that Twitter should shut down accounts that smear China. Huh. Interesting. Again, this ability to control thought, the ability to control speech, might seem like nothing, but they've actually been phenomenally successful in wiping out the Tiananmen Square massacre. Sure, here we know about it, we talk about it, everyone knows about the Tank Man, so on and so forth. But in China, they had studies. They asked the young people, have you heard of it? Do you know what this image is? And they didn't even know what the image is. They didn't know what the Tank Man was. And they didn't know that their people were slaughtered, begging for democracy and freedom. And of course, the U.S. did nothing too. So actually pretty interesting. I mean, I want to stand up a little bit for MTV here because I've been reading the MTV book. And I don't know how organized they were at the beginning, and I'm pretty sure they just wanted any music video they could get their hands on. But, you know, it was a little later on, and David Bowie really takes them to task here for not playing black artists. It's especially great the way that David Bowie continues to go after them and continues to probe the question. Clearly, he's made his mind up. He wants an answer here, and he's not too satisfied with the answer he gets. This is an example of just previous racism and the kind of environment and condition that we're living in where there's good music videos. Bowie sees them on other channels. He wants to know why they can't be on MTV, and there's not a very good answer given. Let's listen to just a little bit of David Bowie.
It occurred to me, having watched MTV over the last few months, that it's a solid enterprise and it's got a lot going for it. I'm just floored by the fact that there's so few black artists featured on it. Why is that?
I think that we're trying to move in that direction. We want to play artists that seem to be doing music that fits into what we want to play for MTV. The company is thinking in terms of narrow casting.
That's evident. It's evident in the fact that the only few black artists that one does see are on about 2:30 in the morning or to around 6. Very few are featured predominantly during the day.
No, that's a...
I'll say that over the last couple of weeks these things have been changing, but it's a slow process.
I know, it's funny, I think people have different perceptions. When you wind up watching, let's say you watch an hour or 2 or even 3 a day, people somehow come away with different ideas about what we are doing. We don't have any kind of day parting for anything, let alone a black artist day parted out of what would be, quote, prime time. We don't have that.
Because one sees a lot there's one black station on television that I keep picking up. I'm not sure which station it's on, but there seem to be a lot of black artists making very good videos that I'm surprised aren't used on MTV.
Well, of course, also we have to try and do what we think not only New York and Los Angeles will appreciate, but also Poughkeepsie or Midwest. Pick some town in the Midwest that will be scared to death by Prince, which we're playing, or a string of other black faces.
That's
and black
very
music.
Interesting. Isn't that interesting?
You know, we have to...
Isn't that interesting, Bowie says. Really nailing it at the end. I think Bowie got what he wanted at the end. It's interesting. The book I'm reading now is about MTV. It's an oral history of MTV. It's very long. And it is funny. In the initial periods, I think they were just playing any music video they could get their hands on. A lot of these were promotional materials that the records companies just had lying around and didn't even know what they made them for. They would just play them occasionally as films. And then at a certain point, I do think MTV is going to shift gears and go heavily into hip-hop. So it is going to prove Bowie wrong. But again, not because they liked hip-hop. I just think they wanted money and that hip-hop was successful. I think watched a great old Jon Stewart interview from a long time ago on Fox News with, what's his name? The guy from 60 Minutes' son. But anyway, he was there with him, and he was giving him all the hard questions. And Jon Stewart just kept saying, no, I think the media is into sensationalism and laziness. And that sensationalism is what sells, and whether it's sex or violence or whatever it is, they just want to sell, make money, and that they're lazy. They're just looking for the quickest, easiest story that they can make the most sensational and sell. And I think that's, again, what I would say about MTV. I think it's a sensational selling thing. But Bowie goes after him really good there, really going for him. And obviously you can tell Bowie's extreme intelligence just in that interview. Great stuff. Hang on to your hats because the real economic catastrophe hasn't hit. Just wait for August. When emergency unemployment funding ends in July, when bans on evictions are lifted, when student loans and mortgage payments are due again around August, things will get very bad. And don't forget about the virus. Nobody forgot about the virus. As we announced earlier, Trump's planned convention speech will be moved to Jacksonville, Florida. Which, again, this is unbelievable and starting to be like just too much of a coincidence, really. Even I think this is too much of a coincidence. The rally, let's see, here we go. His convention speech falls on August 27th, which is the city's 60th anniversary of a brutal KKK orchestrated attack on black activists known as Axe Handles Saturday. So there it is. On Axe Handles Saturday, Trump will address Jacksonville, Florida. This is after starting his rallies in Tulsa, where they had Black Wall Street and white people threw Molotov cocktails and burned down black businesses and all kinds of things. That's where he's starting off, and this is where he's going to finish. The price of Bitcoin is reacting well to starting this show. When we started the show, it was about even. Now the price is up 1.62% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,425, a high of 9,544, and a low of 9,084. That's $1 for 10,610 Satoshis. Back to the news. Can't stop. Even Dan the Dark Pill, who's recently returned to Twitter, shout out, how's it going, Dan, says that censorship in China has implications for everyone. Delete Zoom. Fuck Zoom. Zoom was contacted by the Chinese government about 4 illegal Zoom Tiananmen vigils and disrupted 3 with Chinese nationals on the call. They said it was incorrect action because it interfered with accounts in the U.S. and Hong Kong. Bad news for Zoom. Nancy Pelosi has a list of 11 Confederate statues that she wants to remove from the Capitol. It's just that easy. Let's put them all in a museum with a plaque saying what they did and why. Let's take them out of the public square. Let's only have things in the public square that we can celebrate, not things like a statue of Jefferson Davis, President of the Confederacy, in the Capitol. Probably from one of the southern states. They have a thing where they let everyone send a couple of statues to the Capitol and you get to choose. So California should send a statue of Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. That would be great. And Dave Chappelle was already on to this 20 years ago. I don't know if we've lost our ad rights yet, but Chappelle is pretty great. It's hard to believe this was 20 years ago, and he completely nails it. All right, just try to buy a T-shirt or something because we're going to lose our ad rights again. Here we go. Here's Dave Chappelle. We're trying to entertain here. We're providing commentary on the news. This is 20 years ago. That's why it's important.
Like police. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm just scared of them. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we want to call them too. Somebody broke into my house once. It's a good time to call them, but the house is too nice. It ain't a real nice house, but they never believe I lived in it. Oh, he's still here. Oh, my God. Open and shut case, Johnson. I saw this once before when I was a rookie. Apparently this nigger broke in and hung up pictures of his family everywhere. Well, let's sprinkle some crack on him and get out of here. Oh, you know, that's that whole brutality thing. See, that's common knowledge now. There was a time when only minorities really knew about that. I'm not going to say white people didn't believe us, but you were a little skeptical. You were a little skeptical. I mean, I don't blame you. And then Newsweek printed it, he knew it was true. And then the Newsweek, white people were like, oh my God. Honey, did you see this? Apparently the police have been beating up Negroes like hotcakes. It's in the May issue. I mean, really, how could you know, though? How could anyone else know? You know. I mean, maybe you should have seen something a little suspicious. Don't you think it was like a little suspicious? It's a little suspicious. Every dead black person the police find has crack sprinkled on them. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Who gets shot and sprinkles crack on themselves? Nobody would do that. Bam! Oh, oh. I don't want to leave no mystery.
Oh, amazing stuff from Dave Chappelle 20 years ago. And he's really on it. He's got the whole thing there. He talks about how if you were a black person, you'd be worried to call the police. And his example there of the police beating up the homeowner, we just saw this morning. The man who owned the liquor store called the police. They showed up. They broke his jaw and hurt his shoulder because he called them on a robber at his own store. We saw the story from a couple of days ago where the police are running up the street and the reporter's there with them. And the reporter says, these people at the liquor store tried to stop the looters because they were protecting their local businesses. And the police turn on a dime and attack the people who own the liquor store. They even say to the lady, oh, we're already going to cuff those up. Those are cuffed up, not even seeing them as people, just animals to be cuffed up. So Chappelle really nails it. And I especially, of course, love Dave's depiction of white people at the end there. They know about it, that it's real now because they've read it in Newsweek. Before they weren't so sure, but here it is. It's right in the May issue. Racism is real. It's a problem in the U.S. You might not see it, but certainly other people do, and they're affected by it. What's the difference between not spreading coronavirus and spreading it? It's the mask, stupid. 78,000 fewer COVID infections in Italy, 66,000 fewer in New York City due to masking alone. Note the senior author on this one who knows a bit about airborne particles. That's right. Wear a mask. This is great. This is another, we got to zoom in for the old image. This is what people want Coinbase to do. They say, hey, Coinbase, why don't you support Bitcoin? And Brian says, they say, hey, support Bitcoin development. Support Bitcoin development. And then in the bottom right, Coinbase is like, sell surveillance data on the Bitcoin users to the DEA? No, that's not Bitcoin development. It's been very sad to watch Coinbase drift and drift and drift further away from Bitcoin. And now that they're actually making a business model out of attacking Bitcoin users. It's a bad look, Brian. It's a bad look. This was an interesting conspiracy theory. Let's see if we have time for this. Let's see. A friend of mine who's fully into the COVID conspiracies sent me this post that says Captain America predicted the coronavirus outbreak in 2011. And while it's obviously BS, I started fixating on that circled image on the right. And they say here they have a Corona beer is over his shoulder. So all marketing by the Corona Corporation is a conspiracy. And they also circled this, which looks like a firework in the background as a symbol of the coronavirus. So they're really reaching here. But the conspiracy is not about that. Let's see if it's about this circle. Where does this circle come from? So the OP goes on a quest to find this circle. He thought it might be the Divergent novel cover. Very interesting. Another friend of his, they start looking at all the different Broadway posters and plays, trying to figure out what could have happened, finding the filming date. The scene was filmed in Times Square on April 23rd, 2011. visual effect shot. They're looking at all the Broadway plays, trying to figure out where did this image come from. He knows he's seen it before. They're looking at old YouTube videos, trying to figure it out. Finally, his friend found this. You can see it in there in the corner. It's the original ad. We recognize the logo and the color scheme. We cracked the case. What is it? What is the strange, perhaps coronavirus-esque looking firework? It's spaghetti. Ha ha ha. Happy New Year from the Barilla Spaghetti Company, the choice of Italy. So that was kind of fun. We went from a coronavirus conspiracy about the Corona Company and this weird spiky thing all the way back to spaghetti. That was fun. I agree with King Kobe on this. He says, the greatest looting of 2020, a gigantic transfer of wealth from the poor to the elite. Remarkable corruption. And it's pretty awful that they're not going to tell people which businesses received the $500 billion in bailout funds. Just cover it up. Meanwhile, in Denver, the Denver School Board voted 7-0 to end the contract with the Denver Police Department. We did it. And it's interesting to see how far things have shifted. I was still in school when they first started introducing the idea of cops on campus. Your pal with a fanny pack. You can trust him. Of course, we all knew there was a gun in that fanny pack. But yes, your pal with a fanny pack would be walking all over campus, helping you out with all your troubles. And now we've gone completely the other way to where they're starting to remove officers from campus because they make the children feel unsafe. Great stuff. To have lived this long, huh? Oh, we're getting near the top? I think we're getting near the top. Yes, they refused to tell us who did it. Protesters sang Glory to Hong Kong in Mongkok to mark the anniversary of the 6/12 protests. But while they were singing, riot police officers who were initially guarding Langham Place rushed out and cordoned off an area. They separated reporters from the protesters. And I know it's exhausting, but yes, we're definitely going to see a lot more of this in Hong Kong as the situation worsens. Just like with the other situations, nothing good is being done. China has said they want the law. They want the ability to extradite people and to charge them with terrorism and so on and so forth. The people have said they don't want the law. They were supposed to have 50 years of independence. They've had about 15 or so. People are out in force, incredibly peaceful. Great protesters. Look at all the camera lights here, looking like a candlelight vigil. Again, shout out to Steve Jobs and the smartphone. No one brings lighters anymore. No one brings candles. And look how pretty the sea of smartphone lights is. But then there they are. There's your riot police, even in Hong Kong. And they've separated the press from the protesters, which is always a clear sign they're about to make a move on the protesters. So this situation is going to continue happening. We're going to continue tracking it until we can't anymore. More news from inside Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchanges, surely the most excellent and law-abiding communities. Several of the leaked documents specifically show that CoinSquare CEO Cole Diamond pushing the company to practice wash trading and employees of the company being uncomfortable with the practice. And wash trading is where you trade back and forth with yourself, making it look like there's more volume on your exchange than there actually is. Many people accuse Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchanges of wash trading, and now the documents appear to be coming out. Hey, we did it. We made it to the top of the news. Only an hour and 15 minutes. That's not so bad. You survived. You survived the news. You get a You Survived the News pin. It's Friday, June 12th. We're going to try to get going on the Bitcoin group in just a few hours at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's about 2 hours, 50 minutes from now. It's going to be great. We've got all the crew, maybe Dan and Ben, maybe Josh. But check out the Bitcoin group later here today on the World Crypto Network. Be sure to subscribe down below. Give us a like and a share and a subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. And if you're looking for a new t-shirt, check out Treasures Don't Float at worldcryptonetwork.store. We've got that one. We've got the orange one by Davi Barker. Bitcoin Not Bombs original. Brand new design for the Bitcoin 2020 halving. In case you guys don't recognize this is like the OG Bitcoiner shirt. Everywhere you'd go, Bitcoin conventions, Bitcoin meetups, there'd always be at least one guy rocking the orange. Classic Bitcoin Not Bombs. Great slogan, great little group there. They were spreading the word about Bitcoin. Back in the day, Davi and I, we raised a bunch of money and everyone helped out. And we bought hoodies for the homeless. And they were big Bitcoin hoodies. And we gave them out in San Francisco. You can also check out World Crypto Network, the shirt that proves you listen to the World Crypto Network. No one else, anyone who doesn't, wouldn't have this shirt. So you can be unique, get this shirt. And for a limited time, we have the dual logo mug, old school and new school, on the same mug. $12 at worldcryptonetwork.store. I ordered a couple of these myself, so it's going to be cool. So thanks so much for joining us. We're about out of time for today. I'm still recommending that Netflix show, The Movies That Created Us. I watched one about Dirty Dancing, watched another one about Ghostbusters yesterday, and I watched a great one about Home Alone. I'm betting that their episode about Die Hard is in my near future. But yes, more great behind-the-scenes movie documentaries. It's sign that we're getting old, though. All the movies of our youth are doing behind-the-scenes documentaries before the rest of the cast and the crew pass away. So creepy, morbid, maybe, but fun and light to get some nice stories behind the filming of your favorite movies. I'd also recommend the movie The Hunt. I think The Hunt was a great movie. It was super fun to watch. It's light. Kind of a slasher film, a little violent, but light and fun. Otherwise, avoid the news. Of course, it's going to happen. You're going to have to watch the news at some time today. It's Friday. They always dump the worst possible news on Friday, so they think that more people don't pay attention, so they dump it on Friday. So keep an eye on that. We'll check in one more time with the price of Bitcoin, which has been up and down today. It's been kind of fun to watch. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.67% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,405, a high of 9,544, and a low of 9,229. That's $1 for 10,633 Satoshis. That's cheap. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back in just a few hours. Until next time, bye-bye.